A minor note before we get into the chapter, there is a Q&A answer session right before chapter 9, in between chapter 8 and 9. It is 8,900 words. I'm not going to cover it, but if you guys want to go read it, the link is in the description to the thing. It's right between chapter 8 and 9. It's like question and answer session. Anyways. Princess Celestia, the Changeling Queen, by Vren 55. Chapter 9. To Comfort the Moon. There will always be a reason why you meet people. Either you need them to change your life, or you're the one that will change theirs. Sushan R. Sharma. I closed my eyes and waited. All the while, I wondered how Twilight and the others would react. Would they scoot away from me as if I carried the plague? How would they look at me now that my mistakes and my past were laid bare for them to see? Could they ever look at me the same way again? I bit my lip. I knew not one of them would look at me with the same adoring eyes ever again. Slowly, my eyelids rose to let in the light, and I looked upon the chamber. Everybody was silent. Even my dear Philomena didn't utter a peep. I glanced towards Twilight. My protege was staring at her notes, her eyes full of disbelief. It was as if she could not conceive of what she had written. The first to move was Fluttershy.
Princess Celestia, Alternia? Thank you for telling us about your past. Do you need to be alone for a little while?
Whispered the Pegasus. I shook my head and smiled gently.
You are most welcome, Fluttershy, and I thank you for your offer. But I am fine. I have had a millennium to deal with my loss. Doesn't mean it hurts any less,
stammered Fluttershy. I took a deep breath. I tried to smile and reassure them I was all right. I did not want to look weak. I attempted to force my regal mask over my expression, but at that moment, I couldn't. There was a dull throb in my heart. It was an ache that had been there for 1,000 years, a wound that hurt on the loneliest days, a phantom pain that would never truly go away. Now the old hurt blazed angrily and wore away my resolve like fire on paper. I tried to suppress it, but I knew I had failed when I felt my throat gripped by a clenching sensation. I shut my moistening eyes.
No, it doesn't hurt any less.
Twilight's eyes widened.
Princess?
I blinked furiously, but tears coursed down my cheeks. Through my bleary eyes, I saw Luna stand up, turn around, and trod toward the door, her shoes slamming onto the carpeted floor with every step. Immediately, I wiped my eyes with a hoof and hasted to my feet. In a practiced shimmer of green flames, I donned my disguise. My regalia was engulfed in a golden light and floated to my head, feet, and chest.
Every pony, wait in here. I need to talk to her.
With that, I quickly sped out of the door. I was not completely sure where Luna would go, however. I did know that she liked high, secluded places. It took me a few teleports, but I found Princess Luna on the observatory balcony. Her back turned towards me. Beyond her was Canterlot Castle, its whitewashed walls bathed in the afternoon sun. Below the castle's spires and the city proper were the winding, twisting streets of the city. In the distance were rolling green hills and the great, ever-free forest. It was a breathtaking view. Yet what I had noticed first was the crystalline sparks of Luna's tears, blown by the cold mountain wind.
Dost thou wish to entreat with us?
Growled the alicorn.
Yes, Luna,
I said calmly. The alicorn seemed to shiver at my answer. When she spoke, her voice was bitter.
After all we did to thou. What do you mean, Luna?
I asked, caught off guard. I had expected an onslaught of accusations. I was prepared for threats from a furious princess of the night. I was even ready to come for her, but I was not prepared for her question. The alicorn turned around, and I blinked in shock. Her cheeks were soaked, and still more tears flowed down them like a torrent. Her turquoise eyes were tinged red and bleary, and although Luna furiously blinked them away, tears continued to form. Her mane that once shimmered with 1,000 dreams now draped down on her shoulders like a blanket. I had known Luna would be agonized by what she had done, but not to this extent.
Thou, would it not for us, this would have never come to pass. This debacle is our fault. If not for our foolish actions, our sister would not need to force thou to take up her mantle. If not for our prying into thy memories, thou would not need to tell us. How could we be so... Luna, stop! I shouted. The alicorn stepped back, her eyes wide. I took this opportunity to step forward and wrap my right hoof around her. She struggled against me, but with great care I held her firm. Slowly the push of her hooves was lessened and eventually halted altogether, and I quietly held the princess of the night as she sobbed into my shoulder. I waited as wails that racked both of our bodies turned to soft sobs. Why dost thou not hate us? Thou had every right to despise us for what our sister did, and for what we did, sniffed Luna. I did hate you, I admitted. I felt Luna flinch, and I felt her body stiffen in my hooves. I saw you as another burden Celestia had handed to me. It did not help that I had to deal with the chaos of your prolonged night and grew to despise the one who caused it. The truth is that in my earlier years, I spent hours planning how to destroy you with all my power. Back then, I never even considered trying to use the elements to cleanse you. I wanted so badly to get back at your sister that I was willing to use any means necessary. Luna stepped out of my embrace, her confused eyes examining my weary expression. Then why did thou stay thy hoof? She asked. I paused. Because I knew who you were. Luna's eyes widened as I continued. I do not shy away from all of your sister's memories. While I hated living with them in my head, it was through them I learned about, well, you. Me? Yes. I learned about an adorable alicorn foal that loved the stars with all of her heart. I watched the alicorn foal grow up with the sole wish of safeguarding the dreams and granting the wishes of ponies. I had listened to the alicorn's only wish, which was to have the love of her subjects. It was a wish that should have been rightfully granted, but instead was returned with malice and suspicion. You are not fully to blame for this, thus I could not destroy you. Even for the sake of revenge, I would have brought me down to Chrysalis's level if I destroyed you. A kind, caring pony. It was not worth it, even if it meant I could drive a sword through Celestia's heart. That is a lie! Tia would hate us for what we forced her to do. Her memories would never be so kind to us. I stared into Luna's pleading eyes. It was as if she knew what I was about to say. Her eyes wanted so badly to see my mouth move. But her body seemed to brace itself for an onslaught of daggers. I briefly bit my lip and shut my eyes. I knew she did not want to hear what I had to say, but it was my lie that had put us all into this situation. I would tell her the truth. Luna, your sister loved you. Even when she was about to die, she never hated you. Her last command was for me to save you, not to kill you. She never blamed you for your descent into Nightmare Moon. She only hated herself for her ignorance.
It was a good thing I watched Luna closely, because as soon as I finished, she seized her crown with her magic and flung it away. As it clattered on the floor, Luna collapsed onto the floor. While I stood, shocked still at her grief-stricken cry, that split the sky.
Tia!
Alternia and Celestia, Celestia and Alternia, was all Twilight Sparkle could think of. Were they two beings brought together by fate on one night? Or were they the same changeling? Equestria to Twilight Sparkle! The words filtered into the unicorn's head, and she blinked her eyes to see the rest of the company staring at her, worried frowns creasing their brows. Twilight rubbed her temples with ink-stained hooves.
I'm here. I'm just having trouble believing it all.
Shining Armor nodded, his head shaking slowly from side to side. I have the same problem. I've served directly under the princess for my whole career. To find out she's a changeling, it really boggles my mind.
Well, I think she was telling the truth. I know I can't prove it, and I don't like that she is, but that's what I think,
said Applejack.
I trust Alternia. Her story was so sad,
whimpered Fluttershy. Rarity nodded, but her brow was furrowed and her visage uncharacteristically darkened.
I know it was sad, dear Fluttershy, but that does not mean it was necessarily true. Our changeling queen has left many questions unanswered in her tale.
Cadence glanced approvingly at the ivory unicorn.
Rarity, I do think that Alternia, that my aunt, is telling the truth. Although I do agree with you, there are some things I would like to know from her. Like what happened to the original Celestia? And where is she?
How did she know about Auntie Luna's return? Piped up Blue Blood.
And how did she pick us to be the bearers of the elements of harmony?
Mused Twilight.
More importantly, are you a changeling?
Demanded Rarity, hoof pointed like a dagger at Blue Blood. The others stared at Rarity with wide eyes and raised brows as she glared at the bemused prince.
What? You are the nephew of the prince, are you not?
Hissed Rarity.
I am her ward. She calls me nephew and I call her auntie,
protested Blue Blood. Rarity gawked and her cheeks began to turn red in embarrassment.
Oh, well, I was just checking.
Applejack sighed at her friend's melodramatic antics, while Twilight turned to the final members of the group.
Rainbow Dash, what do you think?
Privately, Twilight had expected the boisterous Pegasus would have been the first to speak. Instead, Rainbow had been silent through the entire narrative. She hadn't even made a sound during the duel between Alternia and Chrysalis. Now her normally focused magenta eyes were flickering left and right.
I don't know, Twilight. I don't know if I should trust her, or if I should throw her out of Canterlot. She's Celestia, but she's not Celestia. She's Alternia. Or is she? I mean, she has been Celestia for so long, right? I don't know,
groaned Rainbow as she threw her hooves into the air. Twilight smiled wryly and placed a hoof on her friend's shoulder.
Rainbow, I don't know either. The best thing we can do is figure this all out together. Spike, what do you think?
The dragon blinked and stared at Twilight.
Wait, you're asking for my opinion? You never ask for my opinion. The princess raised you, Spike. In this matter, your opinion is as important as every pony else's,
explained the unicorn to her assistant.
Oh.
Spike pursed his lips. His eyes slightly narrowed.
Well, I know the princess can't prove what she says. Still,
how she told her story was exactly like how she told me stories when I was a baby dragon. You still are a baby dragon, Spike, said Twilight. Yeah, I know. Twilight, but the point is, I think she was Celestia. I knew all this time, and I trust that Celestia, concluded the dragon. Twilight nodded her agreement with Spike as she wrote down the thought in her notes. That's very good, Spike. What about you, Pinkie Pie? Pinkie still wore a smile, but her chin was on her hoof, and she seemed to be pondering something rather serious.
I think I might just ask Alternia, or Celternia, to join me in their prank wars. Do you know how awesome a partner she'd make? I mean, we could do so many fun things together. I'd pull off so many great pranks. Besides, I think Celternia looks like she needs some cheering up.
The ponies and dragons stared at Pinkie blinking. Philomena had tucked her head into her wing, and her soft giggles echoed through the chamber.
You don't get it? Celestia and Alternia make Celternia? No good. What about Celestia? Then let's try Queen Celestia of Equestria.
Pinkie suddenly gasped.
Hey! Did anybody notice Celestia, Alternia, and Equestria rhyme?
Twilight slowly put her hoof to her head and scratched her suddenly frazzled mane. Pinkie Pie, I think we should just stick to Princess for now. But you do have a point. The Princess does need cheering up. We should go find her. Luna's cry of despair tore a hole in my heart, but while my mind filled with hundreds of phrases of encouragement, none came to my lips. With nothing else to do, I summoned my magic, and I levitated Luna's crown to her. As she batted it aside with her hoof, throwing the unfortunate piece of regalia to the floor again. We do not deserve to be Princess of Equestria, or Celestia's sister, she sniffed. I cringed and knelt next to Luna, but she shuffled away in turn so that I could only see her back. Why not? I asked. We be our own sister to the edge of death. If we cannot even take care of our own sister, how can we care for our ponies? We know the punishment for our crimes. Maybe we should pay for them. She sobbed. I opened my mouth, but uttered no sound. I had to comfort Luna somehow, and in some way. But what to say? I shifted closer to Luna, trying to make eye contact with her, but she kept avoiding my gaze. Luna, please, what will Equestria do without you? I begged. They will do what they have for 1,000 years and listen to thee. Our ponies have flourished and entered into prosperity under thy guidance. Yet we repaid thee by invading thy most sacred memories and repeated what our sister did 1,000 years ago. Why art thou even trying to comfort us? Leave us, now! My breath caught in my throat and I froze. She was right. Why was I trying to help this foolish alicorn? She forced her way into my head, peered upon my most treasured memories without my permission. If not for Luna, Celestia would have never needed to make me impersonate her. How much political headache and mountains of paperwork did I have to go through to restore her to her former position? How many times and infuriating effort did I have to give to teach Luna about the modern era? What had she and her sister ever done from my Equestria? A cold chill like flowing ice water seeped into my chest. I flexed my muscles and raised myself from my door and from the floor. I sensed the ends of my hooves go numb as I trotted toward the door. Luna continued to weep, but I did not look back. As my hooves stepped over the door jamb, I heard Luna spoke. It was like she was talking through a tunnel, but the words rung with an awful finality. Alternia, tell Twilight Sparkle we have left to roam more solitary fields, where our presence cannot harm any pony or being. I felt my heart drop to my stomach. Terror coursed through my veins. All my thoughts of vengeance or anger were banished. No! I said. I spun around and cantered quickly to Luna's side. My horn glowed as I seized the alicorn and lifted her into the air. With a heave, I deposited her onto the observatory's lone couch. She hit the velvet antique in a cloud of dust. The princess stared at me confused and tried to get up, but I lifted an unyielding hoof to her face. Luna, I will not let you leave, I rasped. Why not, Alternia? She gasped. Because I swallowed. I shut my eyes and bit my lips so hard I thought my fangs would draw blood. My teeth ground against each other in indecision. In my heart, I knew why I had stopped her, but I remained paralyzed. Because what? Because you're my sister, I cried. The alicorn froze as if a wendigo had embraced her and stared up at my averted eyes. What? Croaked the alicorn. I turned away from Luna as I remembered a time not so long ago. I first met you 2 years ago. It was when Nightmare Moon had just been purified by the elements of harmony. What Twilight and her friends didn't know was that I had watched them from my hiding place in the Everfree Forest. I had observed the events that led to my students and her friends finding the elements. My heart had plummeted when I watched Twilight fall. My teeth had chattered when they fought the Manicore. I almost screamed at the trees. My heart nearly dropped to my stomach when Rainbow faced the Shadow Bolts. I sat on the sidelines and did nothing when Twilight faced Nightmare Moon. All the while I fought the temptation to blast you to nothingness and reminded myself to trust the abilities of my protege. Gee, Twilight, I thought you were just spouting a whole lot of hooey, but I reckon we really do represent the elements of friendship. I smiled at Applejack's statement and reckoned it was time for me to appear. Indeed you do. I realized my disguise and some of my magic. With the moon freed from Nightmare Moon's grasp, I raised the sun into the sky and teleported into the castle. Twilight was the first to see me and met me with a delighted smile. Princess Celestia! I embraced Twilight. Twilight Sparkle, my faithful student. I knew you could do it. Twilight looked up at me, her eyes wide. But you told me it was an old ponytail. I knew you needed to make some friends, nothing more. I saw the signs of Nightmare Moon's return, and I knew it was you who had the magic inside to defeat her. But you could not unleash it until you let true friendship into your heart. As I spoke to Twilight, the corners of my eyes tracked the wisps of smoke wafting away to reveal your form. The first thing I noticed was how frail you looked. Where you had once stood at almost equal height to Celestia, you now barely reached her shoulder. Yet I had to strain the muscles of my face to stop my brow from furrowing. I knew that if not for you, Celestia would not have needed to force me into her role. Now, if only another will as well, Princess Luna. I saw you stiffen at my voice. You looked up with my eyes that were moist with regret and trembling in fear. You averted your gaze immediately, but for a moment I was struck silent. I forced my lips to move. It had been 1,000 years since I have seen you like this. I knelt by your side, examining you closely for any malignant magic, but found none. All I could see was a young pony on the verge of tears. I was reminded why I had decided to spare you. That you were not originally a tyrant, but an innocent alicorn. I had seen in your sister's memories an alicorn attempting to put up a brave front, but was failing. A pony whose safety had been entrusted to me. I wondered what I could offer to staunch those tears. Perhaps you would be cheered up by being given what was denied to you. Time to put our differences behind us. We were meant to rule together, little sister. I barely heard the exclamations of Twilight and her friends. My eyes focused on the downcast face. You did not speak or even answer me. I did not know what else I could offer you, if not equal rule of Equestria. What would comfort you? So I gave you the only gift I could at the time. Will you accept my friendship? An unbearable silence that stretched on and on met my question. I breathed in, ready to let out my breath in a sigh. It seemed that even if I saved you from Nightmare Moon, I could not save you from yourself. What would I say to Celestia? Then you threw yourself up at me. I started and sprang to my hooves, only felt your nose nuzzling my neck. My mouth wide open, I stared at the alicorn crying joyfully into my shoulder. It was you, Luna.
I'm so sorry I missed you so much, big sister.
I felt my cheeks dampen as you leant against my chest with bleary eyes. I smiled and rubbed my chin against your forehead. Today I had gained something I thought I had lost forever. I've missed you too. I had gained a new sister.